Okay, we're going to talk about a very important aspect in any programming languages that use object-oriented. And this is related to the self variable. Now, let us talk in general. When we used an object named movie and we call methods such as capitalize or reverse or, for example, left just, center, we notice that always we use the method, we call the method on an object. Now, how about put? We always use put without mentioning anything related to a method. So for example, when I say put, and here I'm asking who is the receiver, just I'm curious who is going to receive this method puts if it's method. So usually let me run it. As you can see, I am printing a string. So technically I would like to mention that this is a method. So if I put the regular parentheses that we use in other methods and just run it again, you can see I am getting the same result. That assures me that put is actually a method. So the method for which object, my question is, which object that use put, and why I am not mentioning this specific object in front of put. It turns out that in Ruby there is something built-in object, and that object is the self object, and you can look at it in more details like this. The self is a variable that is referenced to an object named main, a global object for my program. The takeaway from this, and if you see it so complicated and computer scientist way, look at it as following. We know always that every method that we use, it has its own object. In this case, it's not explicitly defined the object, but Ruby knows that this object that we are using named main and the variable that is reference to that object is self. How can I test this? Let me say, okay, now I know that there is an object, there is a variable called self. So let me ask about self. What type of class is self? And let me print this one. So I'm gonna say put and print for me the variable, the class of the variable self. So let me run it. As you can see, what it print out for me object as I introduced here. So actually I have a class like self is the type of self is a type of object. How about if I want to know really what is the name of that object? So I can go back and I can do the following. Let me, for example, print the self and see what's gonna happen. See, it's print for me the value of self, which is the main. Okay, so that means the value of that specific object named main. It would be great if I can explain this in much easier way, like as if I can put here, since I know this variable is named self, and I am calling this specific method named put on that object. So I wish we can do the following. We can print it out. It turns out that this method put is a private method, and usually when you have a private method you cannot call it explicitly. You have to call it implicitly. So in this, that's why I tell you it's called by an object named main. So therefore here I don't need really to put the name of my variable, and automatically Ruby will know that the put is a method called by variable named self. So let us go back to our PowerPoint and see what we want to conclude. So just the takeaway that always remember that every method you call must have an object that it works on it. And in our case, we couldn't call the object self because it is actually it is a private method, and that was a problem that we cannot add it at the beginning. So I hope this will clarify. I know it's a difficult topic and we're going to understand it more when we get deeper inside working with Ruby, but at least if you get the whole picture and you remember this image that we have the top level of our program, we have the main object, and the self is a variable reference to that object. And when we call puts is a method that we call for the variable self, as if we're saying self.puts and we are printing the string on the screen. Okay, that's it for this short video.